Welcome to another edition of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career Outreach Coordinator at the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at KU.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Cheers to Careers. I am Steve Ridinghouse, the Career and Outreach Coordinator for the KU School of Journalism and Mass Communications. Today we are joined by Cindy Reynolds of Somerset, and we appreciate you being here. Hello, Cindy.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. How did you end up having a winemaker on your amazing podcast?
You are the first one I've ever had on this episode. This is episode 47, I believe, and you are the first one we've had. So how did a KU journalism alum get into the wine business?
It's crazy, isn't it? You know what? I have to tell you, I really loved my career prior to being part of the winery. I loved it very much. But even my career took a little bit of a turn before the winery. I did the whole news ed sequence, and I was going to be an investigative journalist for sure. There was no doubt in my mind. I loved it with a passion. And everything I really did was about, I just remember the relief I felt when I realized I knew what I wanted to do. And the tricky thing was I was always a year younger than everyone in my graduating class. And that's only important for fun things like, drinking a beer or you're getting ready to be your senior year and you're still not 21 and, your job offers are all out of town and things like that. And so the job offers I was getting, the Christian Science Monitor, quite a prestigious newspaper. I would have moved to Boston and known no one. And I didn't grow up in a Christian Science environment. I didn't even know what that was. And then this little startup had come to interview on campus called CNN. And they had offered me a position, but I would have to move to Atlanta. And the starting salary was like $7,800 a year. So the only good news about that is I would have been really thin because, I couldn't have afforded food. So it'd have been fine. So I struggled a bit. I get out of school and I'm thinking, I just did an entire, my college career was all about news editorial. That's not really an opportunity. I could have gotten a job in the sports department at the Kansas City Star, but I'd interned there. I'd interned at KMBC TV before, and I just knew I needed to figure it out. And so somehow I got a job. So instead of anything I knew anything about, I got a job in sales in advertising. Well, remember, I didn't take any of those classes, so that's hilarious. I ended up with a career in advertising and marketing and either running a company or running a sales organization, always in the advertising and marketing space. And then that's, I loved that, other than the fact that I was on a plane way too much. And my husband, Dennis, attorney, went to KU Law School, and I met him at KU. And I will say he did not love being an attorney that much. He didn't love it at all. And for a guy who really doesn't enjoy conflict, being an attorney is all about conflict. So that's an interesting thing. And one of the lessons I learned is nobody really talks to you about this, I think. You think about doing something you're passionate about. You think, well, we didn't think about that then, really. That's something we say now. That's a very now thing to say. Find your passion. What's your dream? I don't know. I didn't even know to have a dream. I just would want to pay the bills, right? And so I think for my husband, it was something he was so incredibly good at, but it did not make him intrinsically happy. So when the opportunity came about to plant the vineyard and make wine, he had a plan, and next thing I knew, we were planting vines.
And I've known you and Dennis for, I think, 15 years because you've done some great KU alumni parties. And one thing I've learned, it seems like you two really work well together. I mean, you seem like you play to each other's strengths. I mean, does this ownership work if you don't complement each other skill-wise?
It's an excellent point you make, and that's very nice that you point that out. I will say, honestly, most days it works incredibly well. But when it doesn't, I find myself going, oh my God, I live with him and I work with him. That's a lot. Because in my mind, when it's about the business, I don't mind the conflict. I don't mind debating something. And, maybe we'll get in each other's faces and I'll be, really intense about my point. And then later, 5 minutes later, I'll go, okay, are you ready to go to dinner? And I'll go, no, because you hurt my feelings. So I've had to learn to tone it back, and I'm still not very good at it, honestly. But luckily, the business is good. The business is solid. We've grown every year, including through COVID. And the way we work this out is, honestly, my husband and I have very different rules within the company. And that, I think that helps. I trust him implicitly with wine selection, and he's a brilliant winemaker. Our son has recently, also a KU graduate, and a University of California Davis wine grad, has moved back after 5-6 years of making a very high-end Cabernets and Chardonnays and Pinot Noirs out in Napa and Sonoma. He's moved back. So I've got my two Jayhawks really running the winemaking team. And then I kind of do more of the front of the house and dealing with customers and dealing with our wine club. Can you believe we have over 350 families that are members of our wine club now? Wow. It's amazing. It's amazing.
And are most of those families in the Johnson County area, or are they from all over?
They're from all over. In fact, today, one of the things we did is every time we do a shipment of wine that goes out across the country to a wine club family, there's always a personal note, always a special, some sort of little gift in the package of wine, because we don't get to put our hands on those folks. They have their wine shipped because they live wherever in the country. So I would say, I'm going to say 85-90% of our wine club members live someplace within driving distance so they can come pick up their wine as opposed to shipping.
And I know you mentioned COVID a while back.
Yeah.
So did you have concerns? I mean, at the peak of COVID, that, wow, what's going to happen? It seems like you kept moving right along.
We did keep moving right along, but I'll tell you what that was all about. One of the things that I used to be paranoid about was that we really didn't have enough indoor entertaining space. We do now, but at the time we did not. And I felt bad about that. And then COVID hit, and certainly no one wanted to be inside. People learned that a 50-degree day with a breeze is still a lovely day. You'd put on a light jacket, and because much of our seating is outside, people felt like they could get out of their homes, feel human, be with their pod of people and be outside and still be safe. So we grew really both of the big years of COVID, and I'm very appreciative of that.
And it seems like you have an affinity for local music as well. I mean, is that something you have kind of a pool of musicians you can ask to perform on certain weekends?
Yeah, we do. So year round at the Vineyard and Winery location, we always have live music on Saturday and Sunday afternoons. And the only reason I mention that is that, we are certainly all about the arts and supporting local musicians. And golly, we somehow managed to have just some of the most talented, amazing musicians. I mean, better than we deserve. It's just, they're outstanding. Example, we have so many talented people in the Kansas City area. We've got this guitarist named Will Matthews. I love to brag on this guy. He plays with the Count Basie Orchestra, but his love is jazz guitar. And I mean, he is mesmerizing. And people of all ages love his music. And so when he's not in Budapest or London or Spain somewhere playing, he lives in Kansas City and he comes out and plays at the winery. Awesome. So many great musicians, and we love supporting them even during the winter. It's fun.
And how's harvest time? Do you still get excited about harvest time?
Well, harvest time is the time. That's the deal. In fact, okay, let's put this in perspective. So grapes are, they're only harvested once a year. You don't get multiple harvests in a season. So what happens is the buds come out on the vines about mid-April, okay? Just about where we are right now as you and I are recording this, right? And that's real important. We watch the buds come out on the vines. We hope we don't get a big, we've had snow first week of May before, craziness. So we hope we don't get that. And the buds come out on the vines. And then every week from there on out, it just is a race to the finish. And harvest is usually that last day or two of August and those first several weeks of September, 2 or 3 weeks of September, depending on the grape variety. So it really starts with agriculture, which is not for sissies. I will tell you, we've learned so much about that, because think about how many businesses you deal with that first grow the raw product. Then they make the value-added agricultural product. Then they bottle it. Then they design a label. Then they label it. Then they cork it. Then they market it. They market it to retail liquor stores and to direct to consumers. It's an interesting situation. It's a very, very vertical business, and it starts with us growing the raw products. So everything every week from here out is of killer importance, because you get one harvest a year.
And do you have a lot of people help you? I would assume, do some customers, do they jump on board and help
We
out?
couldn't even harvest without the help of our customers. You could buy $1 million automated picker, but the problem with that is that it does significant damage to the vines. It wears everything out, messes with your trellising. It's not a good long-term solution. These grapevines, if we prune them correctly and take care of them correctly, they're likely to outlive me. So it's important that we do the best we can to be good stewards of the land and to take care of the vines themselves. And the best way to do that is hand harvest. But at the Vineyard location that you and I talked about, we have over 8,000 vines there. That's a lot of picking. So what we do is we invite our wine club members first. Then if we have any open spots, we'll open it up to good customers and ask if they'd love to come out. And it's a really memorable day. And it's really the only way we could get it done.
Is it going to be a good year for Citron?
Oh, it's always a good year for Citron. And I know you, I'm so glad you like that. I'm glad you like that. So Citron, now that you mentioned that, that's such a unique wine that we make. It's officially labeled a dessert wine, but it's that interesting boozy combination of brandy, which is made from grapes, organic lemons that's sourced from California. We're really good at plants here, but we can't grow lemons. That's the one thing that we can bring in from California that works for us. And then our white wine. So I know you like the fact that it's kind of got the tart and the sweet is nice and balanced. It's a really wonderful thing. That wine ships all over the country now.
And Cindy, kind of going back to your early career, what do you remember about your time working with the Guys Snacks Corporation? Did you learn a lot about sales and marketing in that role?
No, I'm going to tell you what I learned there. Well, one, it's very interesting. I'm a very health conscious individual. I'm not running around eating potato chips. I love wine, but I'm going to have a glass or two, and that's going to be good for me. So I'm very health conscious. I enjoyed my time at Guys Snacks because it was such a venerable Kansas City brand. But the thing that I learned there was all about the distribution system between a manufacturer and grocery. And that has helped me in numerous ways, because as a producer of wines, we sometimes in the state of Kansas, we're allowed to sell and deliver directly. But in the state of Missouri, which is half of the KC Metro, right, the state law requires you to go through a distributor. So I feel like I learned a lot about the distribution system. I learned a lot about retail grocery, the demands of that, oh my God, the graft, the evil. It's it's a lot. It's a lot to take on. And you've just got to, I mean, you're busy all the time, and there are, you know, so many grocery stores. Guys Snacks Products, we were in like 13 states when I left.
Wow. And speaking of busy, you're planning for your daughter's wedding, correct?
Oh, you're right. Thank you for asking. You know, we just have the 2 kids. Our son Alex is married, and about 5 years ago, but our daughter Holly gets married this November. So it really will be a busy year where it's going to be fun.
And they've pretty much grew up at Somerset, right? I mean, they helped out.
They did. Yeah, you know, you're right. Both our kids are winemakers. They both did winemaking programs at the University of California, Davis, the Mondavi School of Viticulture and Enology. Our daughter, she's a little more my little capitalist. She works for a company called Vivino. That's a cross. I'll describe it as a cross between wine and marketing technology. And she is on the phone representing wineries all around the globe and helping to run their North America and sales.
Well, Cindy, I know you're probably on a tight schedule. Hey, I appreciate your time, and I always like to close with little cheers. And I know you got a little story behind the mug you have, right?
Okay, when I saw that you had that cup, I got to tell you, I'm holding it down here so I don't break the surprise. I ran in and I grabbed one of my favorite mementos from my time at KU. So I was president of our class for the graduating class of 1982. And one of the things we did, and this seemed so brilliant back at the time, I'm sure everybody does this, but we printed these really cool, of course, this was a beer mug. So you got the Jayhawk here, hopefully you can see it. Yep. And then it's inscribed with the class of 1982. And my husband has one and I have one. And I keep these in our cabinet, and it's something I love. And I also want to tell you, this month, I retire from 9 years of serving on the University of Kansas health system for the hospital and the medical school, and sitting on the advancement board, and 9 years of volunteer work there. So I got my mug. I'm kind of retiring a little bit from my KU volunteer work, and it's always Rock Chalk Jayhawk around here.
Yeah, well, cheers to your career, Cindy, and all the fine work you and Dennis do at Somerset. I appreciate it.
Invite all those Jayhawks to come visit us. They're always welcome. Cheers to you. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Cindy.